My amplified unit, salute! Welcome to the Amped Up Podcast, Monday, August the 7th, 2023, post SummerSlam Amped Up Podcast, and we have a packed, stacked, jacked show for you today. Triple H, Paul Levesque McMahon, tells us all his love for Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And when asked, how involved is Vince McMahon in creative day to day? Where is he in the weeds? On top, underneath? Is he mowing the weeds? Is he growing more weeds? Paul Levesque McMahon, once again, the same answer he always gives, and this time he dives in even further with his response, trying to tell you that no, he is head of creative. Vince McMahon is the genius, and you'd be a fool not to go to him for creative input. I'll give you his exact quote. What Paul Levesque McMahon said about Vince McMahon, and I'm hoping, as I have for months, that people will stop looking at Paul Levesque McMahon as a victim and just see he is VKM's biggest cheerleader. He loves the guy. He wants to be the dude. I'll give you the quote. You guys will once again hear his words firsthand, and a lot of you will still continue to say, he is being sabotaged by Vinnie Mac. We'll talk about it. It's coming up in this podcast. LA Knight, he talks about where his journey is going next, the partnership with Slim Jim, and what LA Knight feels because he is now the face of Slim Jim. He tells you exactly what else he should be the face of. Cody Rhodes tells you what is still, even after 2 out of 3 victories over Brockton Lesnar, he tells you what is still fresh on his dome piece and what needs to be fixed. What scenario, in what situation he has to go back and fix. It's the same thing BC said, needed to be fixed from day one, never should have been broken. We'll talk about Cody Rhodes' comments as well. We'll talk AJ Lee, her current contract. She's been in the wrestling business, whether you know it or not, lately. Many months and even years. She's been in this wrestling game still. You just may not have known it. Well, her contract is coming up where she is currently at. And now the wrestling world, the word is starting to circulate. Could AJ Lee show up in? We'll talk about it. Let me talk to you. We'll talk also Kairi Sane. She is coming back to the States, and she is going to return to WWE. We have the latest on that, as well as a new baddest woman on the planet. This has been anointed. This is the term used by Paul Levesque McMahon. There is a new baddest woman on the planet. This comes off the heels of word going around that was Ronda Rousey's last match at SummerSlam. BC already forewarned you of that. We already told you on this channel that that's exactly what my people were telling me as well. And that was pretty reputable. The word they were getting, it was pretty reputable. So I felt comfortable enough to tell my audience exactly what I was hearing. And now it is being doubled down. And now Paul Levesque McMahon is already anointing a new baddest woman on the planet. All of this and much more, including, wait till you hear. Wow, I can't believe this wasn't the first thing in my cold open teaser. Wait till you hear. There's word on why that moment after Cody versus Brock, post-match, why everything didn't make sense. That awkward moment where Brockton went up to Cody, shook his hand, nearly hugged him, raised his hand to every side out of a great respect, and walked off. Well, yeah, it's a touching moment. It's that sign of respect after a summer-long feud. And some people thought it was a passing of the torch even, which makes no sense. They both debuted in 2002, didn't they? What? This isn't Andre the Giant passing the torch to Hulk Hogan or Undertaker passing the torch to Roman Reigns. They both debuted in 2002. Cody Rhodes, Brockton Lesnar, I believe anyway. I'll research a little bit more, but I believe they were both debuted in the same calendar year of 2002. So what are you passing the torch? Cody has had a whole career already. Everything else is a cherry on top. Makes no sense. This guy broke his arm 17 times this summer. Beat him up in front of his mother, talked shit to his ma dukes. And all of a sudden, they're buddies at the end of the match. It didn't make sense. Well, I have confirmation from Levesque McMahon as to why that didn't make sense. Why that was so strange. I'll tell you exactly why that happened. It's all coming up, man. Grab your beverages, guys, and I mean that. We're going to go over super chat, super thankses from the last podcasts, and a hell of a lot more, man. Grab your beverage, pop in the earbuds, and let's get amplified. All right, guys, so let's jump right into it, because, again, there is a lot to go over, man. It's a good thing I got the Starbucks vanilla double shot latte this morning, because there is a lot to go over, man. We're just going to take them out one by one. We'll go all through these topics, and I want to start with that awkward finish, Brockton and Cody. Now, I understand. I was live for SummerSlam, so trust me, I gauged the wrestling world, right? The amplified unit, a microcosm of the greater scale. And by the way, much love to everybody that stopped in, said what's up, showed the love on that live stream this past Saturday night. A live Good, the Bad, and the Ugly review that was absolutely amazing in every sense. Much appreciation to the 14,000 of you guys that have already caught that live stream. 14,000 plus. And we rocked it out, man. You guys made that 4.5 hours plus. That's right. We were live for over 4.5 hours. You guys made every single minute, every second amplified. I appreciate that. There was even some super chat, super thankses afterwards. So we'll get to those at the end of this podcast for sure. But we rocked it out Saturday night. But something happened during that event at SummerSlam, and we talked about it in great discussion and detail on that live podcast review of SummerSlam, and that was Cody Rhodes, Brockton Lesnar. And after the match, Brock walks up to Cody, nudges him in the head like a couple of animals would do, head noogies, feeling out one another, and then he puts out his hand, they shake hands. Cody is smiling, Brock is holding his hand up to all the crowds like they're just a tag team that just had a match, and the better man won. He's holding his hand up to everybody. And we talked about it live. It just didn't make sense. I understand people thought it was a nice moment. Nice pop from the crowd. If you guys go back and watch, we were live. Crowd popped. Respect to fan favorites. Whether one is a heel or not doesn't even matter. To see that respect is so cool, right? I get the pop. And it's just a cool moment. Okay, some people thought it was a passing of the torch. As I said in the cold open teaser, it doesn't make sense. We're using that too broad now. We're moving the goalposts. You can't say that every respectful, cool moment is a passing of the torch, because now we're just getting stupid. That's what we're doing now. They both debuted in 2002, guys. Cody Rhodes has already had a whole career. Cody Rhodes went and helped found he was a founding member of a whole nother company right now called All Elite Wrestling AEW that's about to fill 70,000 plus asses and seats in Wembley Stadium later this month. He helped find that, became a huge sensation over in Japan. He was an IC champion, a big star in WWE way before. A big star and a Stardust. Just because Brock had some more success, no, that's not how passing the torch works. So a lot of people said that. It wasn't just a few individuals. A lot of people were saying, it's almost like a passing of the torch moment, BC. No, it's a sign of respect, and that's where it ends. It's not passing the torch. You're not passing anything. They both debuted at the same time. They both had really great careers. They just did. One was a little bit more successful. One's more bigger and more badass. No doubt. We love that shit, right? Big muscles, badass, love it. But that doesn't mean you have a torch to give to somebody else that was right there with you debuting. Stop. Stop. So it was awkward no matter how cool the moment is, no matter how much the respect, it was an awkward moment. We were live and BC was not fathoming because story is what we're watching on the show. Right? We don't mind when people break character and whatnot or this and that, but if you're planning something like that, it doesn't make sense. You had Brock Lesnar every time he showed up on Raw, which is not often, once a month, maybe sometimes 2 times a month, for this whole summer-long feud, which, by the way, never even had a purpose. There was never a reason to it. We never even got an explanation. They just wrestled, or Brock just beat him up and broke his arm 100 times. But that's precisely what happened every time Brock came to Raw. He snapped the guy's arm in half. Right? That's what happened. Beat him up in front of his mother, talk shit to his family. That's what happened. And then after this match, he's shaking his hand. He has the utmost world of respect. He's holding his hand up. He leaves the ring. That was a fun summer. Thanks for entertaining me. I'm out of here. I'm going back to the farm. What? Right, we were live. I was trying to fathom how this fits with the story. There's time for respect, right? Backstage, have a nice handshake, a good hug. Wow, we really have created magic out there. Good job, Cody. You too, Brockton. But in the middle of the ring, it didn't fit the story, right? And I think we threw up on the board during that live stream. We threw up a bad or an ugly even, possibly. I forgot what we threw up. I think it was just a bad. But it didn't make sense. Now we have better clarification. It doesn't make sense because it wasn't supposed to happen. BC, my amplified unit, most of you guys were absolutely correct. It didn't fit the story. And even Paul Levesque McMahon, to his credit, knows it doesn't fit the story. He did not write that into that, or he did not approve it. Paul Levesque McMahon has stated, he went on record and a quote. This is a quote. He said, this was completely unplanned and in the moment. That moment after the match, when Brockton went up to Cody, Paul Levesque McMahon says, and I quote, that was completely unplanned. It was in the moment. He goes on to say, and I quote, I know Brock, and even for me, that was an oh shit moment for me. And they actually bleeped out. This was an audio for Paul Levesque McMahon. So it was immediately after the SummerSlam event at the actual press conference, the media scrum. Paul Levesque McMahon said, even for me, on headset in the backing gorilla, that was an oh shit moment for me. They had to beep it out and all that, but that's how shocked Paul Levesque McMahon was. And he said, and I quote, that's Brock. He's a unique beast that just does what he wants when he wants. It was unplanned in the moment, and Brock just went into business for himself, walked up to Cody, butted him on the head, and shook his head. Now, listen, on one hand, absolutely cool to see that as a fan. You know that type of respect after a match like that with somebody like Brock, totally get it. On the other hand, you do want it to fit the story a little bit more. You want to believe that there is another layer to this summer-long feud that was never a feud to begin with because there was never a purpose or a reason. But you want to believe that Cody slayed this beast, this thorn in his side, and finally can move on. And instead, it comes across like he was never really a beast or a thorn in the side. He never had to slay anything. This dude was just playing around for the summer. They're shaking hands like they're buddies at the bar. They just wanted to see who the better man was. What? Didn't make sense. So I love Brock Lesnar because he is that type of beast and he is in the moment. And he'll go into business for himself. I tell you guys all the time, when people chant one more time to Brock, 99.99% like a Clorox wipe. It's not planned for another F5 or spear or whatever he's doing. He just does it. He hears the crowd, he goes back, and he does it again. There's been times he's done it 3 or 4 times because they kept chanting, and I know for a fact it's not planned. I'll literally see, like the wrestler he's putting to a table or giving another F5 to, they'll literally be mouthing something to Brock, like, shit! He's done it to John Cena a couple of times. And you see Cena's like, oh, fuck. Just go! Time, man, time. So I love that about Brock. This is the one time it didn't fit. The whole summer we've been seeing this guy break his arm, talk shit to his family, beat him up in front of his family. And then they just shake. Cody is so ready to shake his hand with the same arm that's probably been broke 17 times. And he's smiling with Brock. It doesn't fit, right? Well, now we know why. It was never planned. We cannot blame. First of all, you can't blame VKM, as much as that's what everyone loves to do. And nobody can even blame VKM or Paul Levesque McMahon even. You can't even blame Paul Levesque McMahon. He did not approve that. That was Brock business for himself. He was supposed to just waddle out and be like, fuck, I got slayed. And Cody was just supposed to have that look like I just slayed the beast. Instead, they walked out best friends. Again, he broke his arm all summer long. In front of his mother, family. It was supposed to be that level. And instead, they're buddies now. Or at least there's so much respect. Awkward. But Paul Levesque McMahon has cleared it up, guys. So, and again, if it's like, oh, but see, I don't see a problem with it. I thought it was really cool. That's fine. That's not the point. That's not what we're discussing. A lot of people thought it was a nice moment. We're saying story progressionally wise, like if you're watching the show, it doesn't fit the whole summer of what we've seen. This isn't the type of storyline where you gain respect for somebody, right? This was Brock literally tearing the limbs off of Cody Rhodes the whole summer. So you would think Cody, even if Brock wants to extend his hand, Cody's not going to smile and shake his hand and hug it out. You got to believe that wouldn't happen if somebody snapped your arm 17 times throughout the summer. But now we know why. So we can at least not have to harp on that for the rest of the year. Because that would be added to one of those scenarios that doesn't make sense. And there's already a laundry list of things that don't make sense in this company this year alone. And it doesn't even matter who you want to blame. VKM, HHH, it doesn't even matter. But let's move on to that story. Paul Levesque McMahon was recently asked, same media scrum press conference after SummerSlam, he was asked about the involvement of Vincent Kennedy McMahon creatively. Now this is great because there's another report recently about from Sean Ross Sapp that Vince McMahon was heavily involved in creative before his spinal surgery. Another report. How many of these reports have you seen in this year alone, man? In the last few months alone, how many reports that have no reputable backing, right? There's no reputable backing. These are just reports flying out with no source that can be connected to the sitch. But it's the same reports. And there's one person that constantly puts out that fire. Paul Levesque McMahon. He constantly tells you there is no truth to it. Fans, nobody wants to believe it. They say, look at the show. You're not that bad, Paul. But he is. Is he better than Vince in a lot of areas? No question. Absolutely. Paul Levesque McMahon is better than Vince in a lot of areas. Is he the same as Vince McMahon in a lot of areas? Yup. The pettiness, the stubbornness, putting his people above people that should be because he just doesn't like them. Oh yeah, that's Paul Levesque as well. And is he worse than Vince at many things? Yup. I already have a laundry list that I'm seeing. So, careful there. Is it an upgrade? Possibly. But if you think that WWE should be ran by HHH long term, and you're going to have a pristine organization with the right people being booked, the right people at the top, the right situations, the right scenarios, no. Paul Levesque McMahon has shown you can't do that. For a few years in NXT, it was nice and cushiony. He had Dusty's kids already pristine for the spotlight. People like Steven Regal and many others were helping him along the way, and he got to just fly in on the company jet and play Papa H during the takeovers. Very cool. He had the right people around him doing all the work. Dusty Rhodes already laid down the foundation of NXT, and people like Steven Regal were doing the day-to-day operations. Papa H comes up, he's the papa, says the words that they need to hear as his kids, even though they were Dusty's. He's more like the distant stepfather that's trying to become the father, but it is what it is. We act like he's the creative genius that's going to save WWE, and it's Vince McMahon that's holding him down, right? His hands are tied, BC. What's he supposed to do? Well, you can always leave. Anybody can leave a place that's sabotaging them, so obviously it's not that bad, BC tells you all the time for Paul. Paul tells you all the time how Vince McMahon is a genius. He loves Vince, and he tells you, the fans, you don't know what you're talking about if you're blaming Vince for WWE's wrongs. Paul Levesque tells you that. And there is a portion of the audience that doesn't want to believe it. Oh, he's just telling you exactly what Vince wants you to hear. He doesn't really feel that way. And then you see reports, Vince or Triple H and Nick Khan hold an intervention with Vince McMahon. Paul Levesque is trying to get Vince McMahon out of creative. Remember those reports? It was just a month or two ago, guys. Do you remember that? There's a war within WWE. Paul Levesque McMahon is not happy with Vincent Kennedy McMahon. There's an intervention. They're trying to get Vince out. Really? Here's Paul Levesque's latest comments. This was just Saturday night when asked. You tell me if this sounds like somebody who wants this guy out. Because this could have been a real short answer. No, he is telling you from his heart how much he loves this dude and how much he respects him and how much of a creative genius still to this day he is. He's not trying to keep a job. Vince McMahon didn't tell him to go out there and really fluff up the Vince talk. This is what Paul Levesque McMahon said about Vince McMahon's involvement. And this is a quote. As far as the surgery, I'm not a doctor. Can't tell you how fast the recovery will be. If I'm a guessing man, I've seen Vince come back from some remarkable things way faster than anybody else I've ever seen do it. He still brags that he was back quicker from 2 quad tears than I was back from. Oh, so he returned much quicker. Yeah, and then they have fun backstage. So how long that is, I don't know. As far as contributions, I would just say this. The reason WWE is what it is, the reason this business, not just WWE, because you could make an argument that without Vince and his vision for the business, maybe it wouldn't even be here anymore. That's bullshit. And I have to cut off the quote. I'm going to keep reading. But I got to call BS real quick so I don't forget. That's not true. And I always give Vince credit. I grew up 80s into the 90s booming because of Vince. I get it, WWE-wise, and what he was able to do with it. But to say that wrestling wasn't going to be here, that's absolute BS, man. The territories were always going to survive. Would wrestling be different today? Most likely. Would it have reached the heights of the Attitude Era? Nobody ever really knows what the territories could have became. Or if it would have split up in an East Coast, West Coast type thing. Or maybe there was 3 big conglomerates right from the jump, not just one, right? It could have been better. We'll never know. It went the way that it is. But to say that because Vince did what he did, wrestling wouldn't be here anymore. Bro, and I give Vince credit for what he did in the past. That's not true, though, man. There's no evidence to say that Vince McMahon is the reason, or could be looked at as the reason wrestling is still here today. But he says you can make an argument that without Vince, not just WWE, but everybody else, meaning AEW and everybody, wouldn't be here today. Man, that's hard-pressed. This game was running pretty thick before Vince McMahon did what he did. Maybe it wouldn't be here anymore. There were some things at that time back in the day that were very popular that just disappeared off the face of the planet. The vision of what he did changed the business. He compared it to roller derby. He said, remember roller derby? And that's not really here anymore. That could have been wrestling if not for Vince. Come on, roller derby didn't have territories like they did. They didn't have TV like wrestling did. It's totally different. They didn't have the interchangeable aspects like pro wrestling did. So that's not... I'll just go on because he says a lot more. I can't harp on that. But that's a heavy statement that Vince is the reason wrestling is still here. He says the vision of what he did changed the business. That is true, absolutely. Changed all of it for 50 years. It was an incredible run of success. There's no greater mind in the business. He says, at this point, if all of us didn't look at moments in time for counsel from him on thoughts or ideas, or if we had a question to go to him and ask him, we'd be silly not to. I'm going to say that again. At this point, if all of us didn't go to him for counsel, for thoughts and ideas, or if we had a question not to go to him and ask, we'd be silly not to. That's a quote. It's sitting, this is a quote, it's sitting next to somebody that knows more about this, has forgotten more about this than you'll ever know. And to not utilize that in some aspect, silly. But is he day-to-day? Is he day-to-day creative? No. Is he all the time? No. If anybody has, though, he's earned the right to be able to do that. In other words, who are you to question if he wanted to be day-to-day? Who are you to question if a decision came from Vince? That's what he's telling you. That's what I mean. People non-stop defend him like his hands are tied. He's being sabotaged. Poor Papa H. If only he had full reign of WWE. And he is telling you, you don't know what you're talking about. A company without Vince is damaging. He's begging you to understand that he cannot by himself control this beast. He can't even do the third hour of Raw. And he's being generous with that. He knows damn well 2 hours of Monday Night Raw is hard. And then to go to 2 hours on SmackDown. Paul Levesque worked best with Dusty's Kids and Regal's Mind and many others. And 1 hour of television, not even TV, 1 hour of network for NXT. And then a 5-match takeover every now and again. That was his wheelhouse. That's where he was best suited. And those days are done. He's much older. He's had the health scares. The guy's got the bifocals now when he's reading, right? He's older. He doesn't even want the whole company. But we act like he's just being sabotaged, and this guy is telling you, I go to him. He says that if you didn't look for him to counsel with thoughts and ideas and go to him with questions, you're silly not to. He goes to Vince. But for months, all you're hearing is Vince is just stepping on everything he's doing. He is telling you, we go to him. We get stumped. We don't know what to do with X, Y, and Z. We have to go to him. This guy's just trying to pound a paralegal or something. He's just trying to have some fun on the side. And we gotta fucking pluck him from the weeds. All's I'm saying is, how many times does Paul Levesque have to tell you how much he loves Vince, how Vince is the reason we're all here, how a WWE without Vince is something that can never stand on its own two legs? How many times does this guy have to tell you this from his own words before you just believe the dude? Stop with the blaming one over the other and just say it's a VKM HHH production, period. Every media scrum, this guy tells you what you saw on the pay-per-view is all him. All him. The Cody Rhodes situation, he said that was me. He said, and I quote, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. And he even brought up that decision in that media scrum. He brought up people are still questioning the call that night. And he says, but it's a fascinating story with Cody, I think. But he still brings it up. He admitted that was him. The Austin Theory failed cash-in during a Monday Night Raw for a mid-card title during an open challenge, by the way, so he wouldn't even have to. And then he still lost. All of that. Paul Levesque. Asuka losing at WrestleMania, but then winning the title a month later on a Saturday afternoon with less of an audience. That was Paul. He talked about it after. It's a decision we felt was necessary in the trajectory that we felt more comfortable with. Something like that. Those were his words. I mean, this isn't just going like, no, it wasn't Vince, it was me. Please believe me. He's giving you detail on this shit. And people don't want to hear it. They turn a blind eye. No, it's Vince. Sean Ross just put up another report. Apparently Vince was so heavy into it, basically, right before the surgery. Listen, at this point, Paul Levesque is telling you every which way. He's not. It's Paul. It's Paul. And are you going to see Vince McMahon a little bit here or there? Yeah. I mean, the guy runs it overall, but it's them going to him most of the time, he says. They're going to him for advice. Counsel was the word he used. Counsel. For thoughts and ideas. You'd be silly not to go to this guy. He is a wealth of knowledge, he says, sitting next to somebody that knows more about this, that has forgotten more about this than you will ever know. This is the same guy that said in multiple interviews to the fans that believe that Vince McMahon has to be removed from WWE. You don't know what you're talking about. That's a quote. They don't know what they're talking about, and they don't know the business. And there's a section of fans that just, this guy is their hero or something. Maybe he's the godfather to their baby. I don't know. Their kids saved them from a fiery wreck. Saved their little pet from a fire at their home. Who knows? Bought them groceries when their credit cards got declined and there was no more food stamps left. And there was Paul Levesque McMahon and he bought them a whole month's worth of groceries. And now they're forever indebted to the guy. I don't know. But it's weird now. It's weird now. And for BC a little bit more because I know how to dissect this shit. I know where Vince is here and I know where Triple H's creative is. You can tell, right? You know. You know an idea from an idea, and a lot of these shows are now Paul Levesque McMahon. They have been. And he gets no blame when things are bad. And when everything is good or a lot of good, he gets all the credit. It's gotta stop. There are still reports. Guys, literally, before we started recording, Sean Ross, I believe it is, from Fightful, or at least Fightful, is reporting Vince was heavily into creative. I think the headline was, new Fightful report contradicts what Paul Levesque says. I'm going to go with what Paul Levesque said here. He's giving you details. He's telling you we are going to Vince when we do need thoughts and ideas and we're stumped and we need counsel and we don't know where to go. Which Paul Levesque has told you a billion times is often with him. He doesn't even know how to book all of Monday Night Raw. But no, nobody wants to hear it. So here's another lengthy Paul Levesque response. No, Vince is not day-to-day. That is a quote. No, Vince is not all the time, like the reports you hear. No, Vince doesn't stomp over us. We go to him for thoughts, ideas, and help. We need counsel. You'd be silly not to go to him. He's forgotten more than you'll ever know. These are all quotes. But you know what? He said variations of this throughout the last couple of years. Nobody wants to see that the power he's collected over the last couple of years, nobody wants to acknowledge it. Nobody wants to think that Paul Levesque is running these shows now more than ever. But that's his latest statement on Vince McMahon. No, he's not running the majority of these shows. We go to him for input at times. It'd be silly not to. So that tells you right there, man. I mean, if they're that stumped that they have to go to fucking Vince, that's not good. It goes back to what Vince Russo said. Paul Levesque. You know, all the NXT people say what a genius Paul Levesque is. Even Cody tries to play nice. Oh, Paul Levesque is a wealth of knowledge. But then you hear like people who worked with him, who were doing the creative like Vince Russo, and he says, guys, when the click was coming up to me with all the ideas, he said, Paul Levesque never came up for any. He never had an idea. He kind of was just like with them. He was kind of riding their coattails. He never came to me with any thoughts or ideas. Ed Ferreira backed those statements up in several different ways too. It's like he never had ideas of his own, they felt. And they never came to him, at least, or them with those ideas. Interesting, man. Interesting. But it is clear, no matter how you feel about it, who you want to blame when things are not good in WWE, it is clear how much Triple H loves Vince McMahon. So much for the intervention stories we heard, right? The reports. So much for Paul Levesque is miserable in that war and they're trying to get Vince out of WWE. So much for those reports. He is telling you, we don't want to lose this guy. You'd be a fool not to fucking have him right now and go to him. He's forgotten more than we'll ever know. Unreal, bro. That's why when I see these reports about Vince, you can't help but roll your eyes, laugh, and then it's kind of saddened that people are actually going to believe it. That's the latest there, man. At that same media scrum, a couple of other big notes. L.A. Knight, yeah. He was asked about when he found out he was going to be in the commercial for Slim Jim, the face of the Slim Jim. And he said, honestly, there was some talk about it, but he didn't find out until after he went through the curtain, after he won the Slim Jim Battle Royal. He goes through the curtain. They filmed some stuff, and the commercial was aired right there, like that night, hour later, whatever it was. I think it was after, maybe not the Slim Jim, after he won the, what was it, the Sheamus match maybe? Or was it, yeah, maybe there's a Sheamus match. I don't know. After he won a match, he goes through the curtain, they filmed it, and then it aired. SummerSlam. So he said a bold statement. I love this statement. He said, so my thought now is, if I'm the face of Slim Jim, or if I'm good enough to be the face of Slim Jim, then I'm good enough and I should be the face of this company. And now there's only one way for me to go. He said, and I love that. He's talking logic and common sense, so I don't know if this company is going to actually allow that to happen. But he says, if that's the case, if I'm the face of brands that like, I'm talking about the Macho Man, yeah, cream rises to the top, yeah. If I'm in the same category, and I'm not comparing him, Macho Man's leaps, hopefully LA Knight one day, maybe he'll reach that, who knows? But Macho Man's in a whole nother stratosphere. But he's saying if I'm good enough to be in that category of being a face of Slim Jim like Macho Man Randy Savage, then I should be one of the lead guys in the company. At least I should be looked at in that light. And that raises an issue with Cody Rhodes, because in that same press conference, Cody Rhodes stated that he needs to get back to that situation in scenario. He wouldn't name it. He says, and I quote, we all know what I'm talking about. He says, we need to get back to that situation in that scenario so I can fix it. And he's been talking about this a lot lately, the botched WrestleMania decision, that he walked out without the title, instead laying down next to a rubber chicken. And Roman Reigns went on vacation for 2 months. Came back, had 2 tag team matches, and fought over a Red Tribal Lay Tribal Chief storyline. Nothing to do with the title, really. The title was an afterthought at SummerSlam. And Cody went through this whole thing that the story needed the title to be on the line. That's why Brock would attack Cody. And nope. The story ended without purpose, and it ended with a shaking of the hand, so it didn't even serve purpose. Nothing about Cody and Brock from beginning to end made any sense. I guess it's fitting that they shook hands afterwards and celebrated by hugging it out. I guess it's fitting. But Cody Rhodes has been talking a lot about needing to get back to he knows how bad that was now. I think enough people have talked to him. He's had enough time to digest it. And as much as he tries to stay cordial with Paul Levesque McMahon and Paul does with Cody, he knows that was a botch of epic proportion. So it's really good to hear Cody really talk about this much more honestly. We have to get back to that scenario and situation because that needs to be fixed. Not I need to do better, because that was the story coming out that he was trying to tell, right? The better man won, I lost. What? First of all, there was cheatery, the same type of cheatery we've seen a billion times from Solo. But what do you mean the better what? Now we're not playing that game. Now he's saying we have to fix that decision because he knows it was botched. It was broken. It was an absolute botched call. And he keeps replaying it. He's got to get back to that. That needs to be rectified. Now he says getting to that point is nearly impossible. He's actually correct, because in pro wrestling, anything happens. LA Knight, he could rise to even more fame. By the time WrestleMania comes along, guys, people could be going, there's no way he doesn't win the title from Roman. I can't even fathom that now, and I'm a huge supporter of LA Knight. But after 3 years in Montreal, Sammy couldn't get it done. Cody at Mania, Jey Uso at SummerSlam, his own family. LA Knight right now? No. Just because he's super over? No, it's going to take more than that. But who's to say where LA Knight is by Royal Rumble? You know, we thought Daniel Bryan's momentum was going to go so high. A lot of people said Daniel Bryan's never going to actually go to Mania and win the title, man. That's Batista's. H will probably get it from him at SummerSlam that year. Daniel Bryan's not going to sniff that. No, he went to Mania, and there was no other choice but to give the title to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. There was no choice, right? He got so big that plans had to change. It's called an audible. An audible had to be made. And poor Batista was the odd man out, and everything that year kind of got switched up. It happens all the time. You know, when H was supposed to win that King of the Ring, and he was suspended, or he got shit on because of the whole clique situation. Stone Cold got the King of the Ring. All of a sudden, his popularity went to another level, and then they couldn't shut it down. Everything got changed up. People had to go heel. Stone Cold became the super top face, and it was on from there. IC title was only the start. The momentum, the whole business shifted. Right, audibles happened. We knew Rocky Maivia wasn't working. We were going to need to see a heel Rocky to see the best out of The Rock, just like Roman Reigns. And when that happened, none of us could have realized how big The Rock was going to be, but audibles had to be called. My point is, this far away from Mania, who's to say that we even get Cody and Roman? I'm sure that's where they would like to get back to. Try to recreate what was happening at 39. You're never going to get that lightning in a bottle again. That moment has passed. It's botched. You'll never get it back. Waiting another year with struggle and adversity is going to do nothing but dilute the whole situation. But I guess it's a consolation prize. Let's try to run it back in Philadelphia at 40, and let's have the Rocky moment. He finally slayed and conquered the Apollo. Are we even going to get to that point? Is Cody still lightning white hot more than anybody else for Mania that far from now? Because if you keep doing weird shit like a summer-long Brock feud with no purpose or reasoning, and then they're smiling and hugging afterwards, and you got nothing for Cody. Starting tonight, we find out what's it going to be. Who's the heels on Monday Night Raw? You can't go anywhere but Judgment Day, right? Gunther. But you're not going to set up an IC title feud, Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. Come on. Cody's wrestling for the title at Mania, and now he's in an IC. Is Cody going to win the IC? All of this Gunther reign was for the main event, Cody Rhodes, to take it from him? Nah. Gunther and Cody's going to be fun, but let that be in the future, maybe even for a world title. See, you're not going to go the Gunther route. The only other top heels is Judgment Day, correct? He's already wrestled them all over the last several months. Dominic Mysterio was at the last pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, before SummerSlam. Baszler was April or May-ish he took on, or was that Damian Priest? Baszler was just recently, I think. May have switched him, but I think it was Baszler. Cody just took on Baszler. Point is, he just took on all of Judgment Day within the last couple of months. So now you're going to try to run it back and make it a real 3-4 month feud into the holidays, because that's their only avenue, I guess, would be Judgment Day. I don't know what other top heel is there. I'd have to really do a deep dive, but everything I heard is there was no real plans. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to see Cody. You'll see him tonight. They'll try to maybe spark plug something for the future, or maybe they just have Cody do a hoorah speech promo, and maybe they really don't even have anything tonight. But they'll think of some weird shit for Cody, and will limp into the holidays. Because Raw is hurting right now. Your top heels are either Gunther or Judgment Day. And the overexposure is going to hurt a lot of people. And by having their talent have all these matches nonsensically on like Monday Night Raws, nobody's going to need to pay the $10 a month for Peacock, the subscription service, to pay money to see this at a premium live event pay-per-view. Why? We're seeing these matches on Monday Night Raw all the time. Now you're giving me the same match and we got to pay for it? We'll see, but Cody Rhodes once again said, I have to get back and fix that situation. I got to fix basically Paul Levesque McMahon's mistake there. Speaking of Monday Night Raw and kind of being in flux right now, not a lot of talent that you can look at as top heels. I mean, Gunther's got the IC, but you're just starting to see Gunther and Imperium weird six-man tags on Monday Night Raw main events, and the ratings are showing you, just like BC and many of you, nobody cares. We don't wait 3 hours to see a stupid, nonsensical six-man tag that never has a cliffhanger, never has anything special finishing the show. Nothing when that show goes off the air tells us that we need to tune in next week. Or it's the Judgment Day all the time in six-man tags or tag team matches. They just move out this guy, they put in Balor. Take out Balor, put in Dominic with Damian. Take out Damian, have Balor and Dominic. It's always like KO and Sammy and Sethington, or KO, Sammy, Cody, KO, Sammy, Matthew Riddle, Flip-Flops, Flanagan. Every Monday night. That's all. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have done nothing since Mania. They're just six-man specialists now. They cannot be any more irrelevant, you would think, but this company will find a way. So Monday Night Raw is in flux right now, man. They have nothing going on with their heels, and you're like, well, man, they're doing everything with Judgment Day, BC. Gunther got the IC title. There's a briefcase in Judgment Day. There's an NXT title in Judgment Day. The Women's Championship. Balor almost got the World Championship. They're still doing the same shit. They're overexposed with no substance. So Raw's already kind of in flux. Now you hear the new commentary switch up. You guys hear about this? I spoke about this several times during the stream, and it looks to be more than reputable. Starting tonight, Monday Night Raw, the commentary teams are supposed to be switching up. So Michael Cole and Corey Graves are coming to Raw. Wade Barrett, my bad. Wade Barrett and Michael Cole coming to Raw. Corey Graves, Kevin Patrick are being DOS booted from Raw, and they're going to Friday nights. Now, here's the caveat here. Michael Cole is staying on Friday as well. So it is clear that Kevin Patrick is the odd man out, and they just don't have the gut to fire him. And I don't think he should be fired. He should just go back to this backstage interview role. I thought he was fine in that role. Put Byron Saxton with Corey and Michael. That was a good three-man team. I don't know why Byron is being wasted backstage. And Kevin Patrick still to this day is not very good at all. He's gotten better. He just doesn't have that it factor for a commentator. I would take Vic Joseph over Kevin Patrick. A genuinely good dude, but so was Adnan Virk. So was Mike Adamle. Those names ring a bell. Good dudes, really bad. Or at least not good at commentary. Put in Byron Saxton. He works really good with Corey Graves, especially with Michael Cole as a centerpiece. But they don't want to remove Kevin Patrick. Paul Levesque McMahon doesn't want to believe that he botched it and it just didn't work. So they're going to keep him, but Michael Cole is going to be the lead man. And Corey Graves will be with him. They'll be on SmackDown. Wade Barrett and Michael Cole will now be on Raw. Now, the report is that Endeavor thought it would be a good idea, and the networks backed it. The truth is, in all honesty, let's be honest, the truth is the TV rights deals are coming up, right? They want as much bang for their buck as possible, and they want Michael Cole to be rocking the commentary until they reach those new deals. They want their lead guy with all the soundtracks. They don't want Kevin Patrick being that guy. That's the truth. So they're going to do this circus sideshow mix-up. The real deal here is just having Michael Cole be the guy to sell NBC, Comcast, Universal, and Fox, or Amazon, or whoever they sign that deal with, and try to get a lot more revenue out of their next TV rights fees. They're going to make sure that they know that they're getting in the package the best in the business, who they call Michael Cole. That's the real deal, man. There's no reason you're doing this when you know after SummerSlam, on a rights deal year, which this is what this is. This is the year where they start buckling down and they start negotiating. You know damn well that decision is being made for a bigger rights deal. Michael Cole is going to be one of those chess pieces. One of many. You're going to see a lot. You already started to see it. NXT. You guys watch Tuesday night NXT? Does it look different these days? A lot more main roster talent, right? Main roster talent is even champions like Dominic Mysterio, NXT North American champion. Do you know why? Ratings. Higher ratings, better deal. They want even money for NXT. They want to try to get they want to finally make a profit here. And it worked. The ratings are now into the 7s. They used to get 5s and 6s. The main roster talent comes over, now they're in the 7s. Yeah, you can make more money when you say, look at us. We're competing with the rival promotion, or what they say. AEW says they're in a war with WWE. Well, look at them. What kind of a war is it? They're going to still try to promote it as developmental, even though all the main roster talent's on there. And they're going to try to sell it to USA. Like, look, our developmental is almost equaling the ratings of Dynamite. Because Dynamite usually pulls around 800,000 viewers, 9-ish. Well, we're already at 750. And we're developmental. That's what they're going to try to do. So you've already seen NXT being used as chess pieces. Now you're seeing Michael Cole doing both shows, or at least that's what's being reported. Pretty reputably. Chess pieces. You're going to see a lot more of it too, guys. Don't be shocked if you start to see if Roman somehow shows up on Monday nights. You know, you got Survivor Series. They might try to do the branded thing, and you'll see a lot more Roman on like a Monday or a lot more SmackDown. They might start that even earlier to use them as chess pieces. But a huge mix-up in the commentary world. AJ Lee, you guys hear about this? And before I start off, let's start with the WWE ladies first. Ronda Rousey. We reported on this channel because I was hearing from my people, my sources, even though I hate that word, but they know a lot more than BC. They informed me that Ronda Rousey is on her way out. She might be doing a lot of business with the UFC in the future, if not actually back in the octagon, which we are hearing she's been training. And that's why they set up this MMA rules, because while setting up for this match, her and Shayna have been actually training to get Ronda back in UFC. This is what I am hearing. But at the bare minimum, she's going to be doing work for UFC. Could be like in an interviewer role or a new host of a show. But that's what we're hearing. Not concrete yet, but that's what we're hearing. So now, coming out of SummerSlam, the reports just got even bigger from other reputable sources saying that they're hearing Ronda Rousey, that was her last match. Now, to back that up, Paul Levesque McMahon has said, and I quote, what you saw at SummerSlam was really, let me get the quote, was now really, when you think about it, this is from Paul Levesque McMahon. When you think about it, now we have seen the new baddest women on the planet. I can spit it out. The new baddest women on the planet, meaning Shayna Baszler. Well, you don't say that unless the other one's been replaced. Ronda Rousey is no longer, according to Paul Levesque McMahon, the baddest woman on the planet. And we know Paul Levesque McMahon loves Ronda Rousey, by the way. So this is clearly just Rousey not being happy and just wanting to move on, go back, maybe just take a different avenue. I mean, she doesn't have the respect in the pro wrestling world. She doesn't. And that's sad, but she has not helped herself along the way. And you guys know from the beginning, was a big Ronda Rousey supporter, but I'll be the first to say this has been a bust. WWE has botched it with her, and she's botched it along the way for herself. So, Paul Levesque McMahon is now anointing Shayna Baszler to be that. But you're going to have to book her better than being just a fruit roll-up queen. 2-minute matches being rolled up or 50-50 booked. If she's going to beat Ronda like that, like she did on Saturday night, if you're going to anoint her the new baddest woman on the planet, which you know she's going to start doing, right? That's the way you go with Shayna. When she's on the microphone, you have her calling herself the new baddest woman on the planet. And again, that tells you that that's probably the last you're going to see of Ronda Rousey, unless they try to run it back one more time. And then she's on maybe they did like a month-long extension. Like let's give Shayna another W, and then you take off. We'll give you more money. But it looks to be the end of Ronda Rousey, her last match at SummerSlam, if they didn't extend it for one more PLE. Sticking with the ladies, AJ Lee, her contract is coming up, expiring with WOW Wrestling. Now, what I would like to do is give you a quote from AJ Lee about this. AJ Mendez joined that promotion, by the way, WOW, Women of Wrestling. And that was a promotion founded in 2000. She joined that promotion as an executive producer and color commentator. But she has since taken to her social and says, and I quote, this is from AJ Lee Mendez, "As my season-long contract with WOW winds down, I want to thank the ladies for welcoming me into their locker room, our hair and makeup talk sessions, and constantly inspiring me with their hard work, talent, and genuine camaraderie. I'll try to come back and play sometime in the future. I hope all you fans keep watching next season to support these incredible athletes and stars of tomorrow." She says in parentheses, "This project is non-union, but while we're here, hashtag Writers Guild Strong." So there's a strike going on right now with the Writers Guild of America, and all the actors are supporting. Here in New York, there's nonstop picketing, Hollywood for sure. I can only speak to what you see in New York. And everybody, the whole industry is backing up the writers. So she makes it a point to let you know this is non-union, it's not union, so we're not breaking the picket line. You know, we're not stomping on what everybody else believes that we should be fighting together. She wants you to know, non-union, guys, not a union project. Because in the acting world, you're either SAG-AFTRA or Writers Guild, you're part of their union, or you're non-union, it's called. You put in the same hours, if not more, and you get paid a lot less. But at least you get work. And you ain't got to pay union dues. So AJ Lee, now the talk is she joining husband CM Punk Phil Brooks in AEW? Will that give Collision a boost in ratings? Could you imagine AJ Lee going to WWE, returning? The McMahons have loved AJ Lee, still do. I mean, Vince McMahon loved that girl. If you look at how long AJ Lee was in WWE, it wasn't that long. I think there was like a 3-year span. That was it, correct? Or at least 3 prominent years, and that's being generous. If there was a 4th year, I mean, it wasn't, that was a fluff year, but look at what she did in just the 2 bulk years, those main years, those 2 years. You look at what she did. She became Raw General Manager, 3-time champion in all of those main storylines. She was in big storylines with Jonathan Cena, Daniel Bryan, Kane, CM Punk, Phil Brooks. AJ Lee was a massive part of WWE television, even running the show as storyline GM. The McMahons loved her. Even when she started the Give Divas a Chance, the whole thing, and the Revolution, or helped start it. The Revolution, AJ Lee absolutely catapulted that. But even after that, I mean, Stephanie had so many heart-to-hearts with her, and it was Vince McMahon more than anybody. Vince McMahon really loved that girl. It'd be interesting to see if they offered her a boat ton of money, but you gotta believe Phil Brooks would be like, what are you doing? Tony Khan can give you a ton of money. You're coming with me. Or it'd be even more hilarious if she goes over to Dynamite and Phillip Brooks is over on Saturdays. Who knows, man? Or she just wants to do other things. Again, with the writer's strike, and she is a writer, this is an odd time to just go all in writing. Unless you think this is the premium time, the perfect time. You do a bunch of projects, and then when the writer's strike is done, you're just going to be there with like 10 fucking notebooks of projects going to producers and networks. I don't know. AJ Lee, man, we wish her the best in her future endeavors. But she's seeing herself to the door, not being booted. AJ Lee Mendez. Salute. Kairi Sane. Kairi, we are hearing, is coming back to WWE. Now, the rumors started to circulate during SummerSlam, a little bit before SummerSlam went live Saturday night. We are now hearing that there is validity to those reports, and that Kairi Sane is coming back to the States and is returning to WWE. And I'll take it a step further. the reason that these discussions were even being had with Kairi and family and friends is because of what was going on with Asuka and Io. Apparently, she saw Asuka winning the title, and then Io gets the briefcase, and the hamster started spinning. And she started to talk amongst her friends and family about already having the desire to go back, but now seeing how the Japanese wrestlers, female-wise, are being booked in WWE, she feels it's a better placement in the right time. So, again, I do believe that those reports that we're hearing, because that's not something you can just make a decision on based on Io winning a briefcase and Asuka a title. You would already have to be thinking that, and you just need that cherry on top. You just need a little bit more for you to make such a monumental decision. So I think it was in her mind. Right, we have no reason to doubt that that's why she's coming back. If she says she's been contemplating it for a while now, of course that's the case. But it wasn't enough to make her go back. And then she sees Asuka win the title and Io wins the briefcase, and then she's like, sorry guys, I have to go back. Probably against a lot of the wishes of her family and friends, but that's, sometimes you think, like, is there more for me? You got to remember, guys, she was supposed to be the person over in Japan. Mercedes Moné, when she came over there, all the plans, the audible that is always called in pro wrestling at any time, you got to be ready for those audibles. Kairi Sane was supposed to be the person. Mercedes came over and became the person. And then all of a sudden, all of this starts happening with Asuka and Io. And she's like, this is the time to strike while the iron is hot. If there's ever a time to come back, it's right now. And maybe Paul Levesque McMahon will book her properly. He's got a little bit more control now than ever before. He makes a lot of wrongs, but some people get booked a little better. I don't have a list right now. It ain't that many, but maybe she wants to take the gamble. Maybe she just won't be a little pirate coming through down the aisle and getting injured all the time by she injures mouse girls. Right? Maybe that's the big fucking selling point, the cherry on top. She found out Nia's not there anymore and can't injure her. She's like, I'm going back. Then she finds out Nia's coming back too. What? Kairi Sane coming back to WWE. That was a lot, man. What an hour we just freaking had, man. And hold on, I'm not even... What's the two other stories that I had? I'm not going over any of the records that supposedly were set this weekend at SummerSlam. Paul Levesque issued a bunch of numbers. We all, anybody reputable in the pro wrestling realm, like real critics, not just somebody with a fucking camera phone and a fucking half-ass mic or anything like that, like real critics, real people that know what's going on in the business, we all have come to the same conclusion. The numbers seem way more than inflated. So BC wants to find a lot more about these numbers. They just seem very inflated. I'm not at all going with those numbers. And a second thing I wanted to say real quick is much respect, man, over to the Paul brothers for what they were able to accomplish this weekend. I don't know about respect. Props. How's that? Props to the Paul brothers, because what they did this weekend, man, can you fathom that? Logan Paul did something crazy, or he thought of something wild. Was it going to be able to happen? Maybe not, but he was going to try. He asked Paul Levesque McMahon if his match could go first. It was supposed to be Cody and Brock. It was the first match. That was the plan from a couple weeks ago that we heard. And then Logan Paul went to Paul Levesque McMahon and said, can I go on first? I really am going to try something wild. I'm going to try to make my brothers fight in Texas. Now, they're in Detroit, mind you. So Paul Levesque McMahon said, dude, if we can help, all right, we'll give you a police escort. We'll have the jet ready. Let's rock. And they went on first. They had a pretty decent length match. It wasn't like a 2-minute squash, so they can help him even know there was a real match with Ricochet. Defeated Ricochet. Went right, no shower, no nothing, right to the jet. Went from Detroit to Texas and caught his brother Jake Paul's fight with Nate Diaz. And Jake Paul defeated Nate Diaz, by the way, unanimous decision. Knocked him down, not out, at some point during the fight. Logan Paul with a big W at SummerSlam. Jake Paul with a big W in that fight. And they did it all in the same night, and Logan Paul was able, with less than a half an hour to spare, still in his gear, he was able to make his brothers fight, man. What a story to end this podcast. Whether you respect, I'll use that word, whether you respect Logan Paul or not, you like him or not, I hear you. I don't know much about him before he got to pro wrestling, and I don't care, to be honest. But some people say he was, he wasn't the best of dudes before he got to WWE. I don't know. But I got to tell you that is one, to even think that you can make that fight and all that has to happen and go perfectly for you to make your brothers fight on time. And for it to actually come to fruition. Man, that is wild. Could you imagine having a brother? Maybe you do have a brother. Or if you're a woman, you have a sister. Could you imagine like that type of a night happening for the two of you? And you were able, halfway across the country, or at least north, south, Detroit, Texas. And you somehow were able to not only do your thing way up north, but get all the way down south and watch your brother do his thing and win. I can't, that's wild, man. That's just wild. Guys, we're going to leave it right. We're going to leave it right there, man. There's only one way to end this podcast, and that is with my super chat super thankers. And this is from, first of all, the last podcast we did. So not the live stream, the SummerSlam review, although I do believe that there was a couple of super thankses already in that one as well. But first, let me go back to the last regular upload we did podcast-wise. I think this was Saturday morning. So this was SummerSlam morning, but it was the SmackDown review. And I want to give a big shout out over to WWE AEW Marvel fan, who is also a gold member, by the way, channel member. He says, I'm glad LA Knight defeated Sheamus. He earned that victory, but I fear he may not win that Battle Royal. Whenever he teases that he's going to win a big match, he loses. Also, I'm on board with this new Hurt Business type of faction with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, but it should be booked correctly going forward. I'd also like to see Carmelo Hayes and Bianca Belair in that group. Last but not least, Io Sky looked like an absolute joke losing that match to Zelina Vega. That's not how the Money in the Bank winner should be booked. It just derails the momentum to cash in and is unacceptable. I agree with that. I'll start with right from the last part you said, Io. I don't mind Zelina winning that match. It's a badass code red, all that. I understand. Io with a briefcase should not be losing before she cashes in. That we all know that. No matter if you want to give Zelina a victory or not, that's not how you do that. Absolutely agree. As far as LA Knight and kind of fearing that he's not going to win because he said he was going to win, I understand why you feel that way, because he said he was going to win Money in the Bank, and he failed to do such, and he guaranteed it almost. And then he pretty much guaranteed he was going to win the Fatal 4-Way to get a U.S. title shot, and he did not win that either. So the Slim Jim, I see where you're coming from there. As far as Bianca Belair and Carmelo Hayes joining Bobby Lashley and the Profits, as much as it would be a cool visual, they'd be badass. There's no reason to put Belair and Carmelo in that faction. Carmelo does not need to be shadowed by anybody, let alone a whole faction. And Carmelo doesn't need the help right now. When he goes to the main roster, let's see if he can sink or swim. He's earned that right. And Bianca's way too good right now to just be put in a faction. If you're going to do it, you would have to kind of mimic what Rhea is doing with Judgment Day. That's hard to do, especially to do it when it's already currently being done. Great. Super thanks. WWE AEW Marvel fan. Appreciate the coffee. Never needed. Always appreciated. As is your service to the channel. As is your membership. As I said, I have to go over to the live stream yesterday. Give me one, or Saturday. Is that yes or no? Saturday night. Because I believe after we went off the air live, I believe there was a super thanks or two. So now I have to go and try to... I'm not going to edit this. We're going to do this right out for... Yes, here we go. I knew I wasn't imagining shit here, man. It was Clutch City Fan with a 2-spot coffee. BC, if I am not mistaken, the reason Cody didn't get disqualified for using the steps is because the rules say it's a technicality. You can use the ring steps because they are part of the ring. By the way, someone needs to send Ricochet to AEW to teach those fools that you can have a spot fest and still sell the moves. That's another whole podcast, man, with the flips and the dives that a lot of these wrestlers are doing. I can't even just blame AEW. It's just too many of these flips and dives matches. They revolve around just what you can do on a trampoline. Let's take that, put it in a ring. Forget in-ring psychology. Forget selling. Ricochet did really good in this match, selling for sure. Clutch City Fan, I've never heard a rule that ring steps can be used and you can't get disqualified. I mean, if somebody is literally ramming steel steps into... I saw a Hell in a Cell match get called off. Hell in a Cell, because the referee said the steel steps was too much. It's crossing the line. The damage is too bad. Hell in a Cell is supposed to be for that reason. One man walks out, right? That's the whole thing. Nothing else could contain them. It was too vicious, everything else. So now we're going to put them in the cell. One man's going to walk out. No, the referee's like, whoa, no, not the steel steps. So, it just doesn't go. You see what I'm saying? But I never heard a rule that the steel steps can be used because they're part of the ring. They're actually not. They're not even tied to the ring. They're just placed on the outside post. It's not even like a turnbuckle. That's at least literally tied to the ring. The steps are placed on the ring. So, never heard that rule. I just know that he used steel steps onto Brock right in front of the ref. That's a DQ. If you can use a steel chair, which is located underneath the ring, right? A lot of them, they don't even boot somebody to get their chair. They just take one from underneath the ring. That's a DQ. So, where do we draw the line of what's connected to the ring, right? Just didn't look right, man. You can hit them with a steel chair, a kendo stick. You can, if you throw a soda in their eyes, maybe that's a DQ. But if you use steel steps, totally legal. Beat them. Beat them down with it 76 times and then pin them. I'll count, says the referee. I don't know, Clutch City Fan. You could be right. Maybe that is a technicality. I never heard it, and that would be completely stupid. But who knows, man? Who knows? Well, hold on. We got Blitz 2K5. And you know what? I lost it, Blitz 2K5. Hold on, man. I lost the big screen. I can't read it correctly if it's not on the big screen. All right, I got it back. There you go. Blitz 2K5 with a 2-spot coffee. Super thanks. Super chat. Imagine this. Kairi returns. I don't know why I always got to roll my R on that, man. But Kairi returns, feuds with Asuka until the Royal Rumble. Io interferes, leads to Io champion versus Asuka versus Kairi at Mania. Meanwhile, Charlie fucks the hell off. Sounds like heaven. Listen, as long as Charlie's not involved in the title picture, and you're putting Io, Asuka, and Kairi in some type of scenario together, I don't even need a triple threat. Let's just have some fun with those three. That's what she said. Let's have some fun with those three, man, leading all the way through WrestleMania. I'm fully on board. So, yeah, sounds like heaven. No doubt. Sounds like heaven. Guys, and I wanted to everybody that contributed big time during the live stream of SummerSlam. Massive thank you to all you guys, man. There was banger bombs, Angel Olega with 100 spot, man, Stegmeister, Jane Donnelly coming in with $50 banger bombs, bunch of coffees being chucked over to BC, a bunch of unit members I haven't been able to see in a while, Gold Team too, by the way, were able to stop by, say what's up, and just smashing that up, man, hundreds on the ups. I appreciate that big time. It helped me. 4.5 hours plus we were live. And the reason BC remained so amplified is because I knew you guys were. And the love and support and the appreciation you guys were showing this channel, I was like, all right, I'm going to give that right back tenfold, man. So big time appreciation. Guys, until next time, and there will be a next time. Monday Night Raw is tonight. New commentary team, we believe. And all new stories, we hope. Watch us get the same matches. But we hope. And BC will be with you guys some point within the next 24 hours to do that complete review, Monday Night Raw for the 7th of August. So until next time, and there will be that next time, Top Guy, I am out. BC saying check you. Peace.